Yo, welcome back to another Sparking Zero video. Today we're going to be talking about how I would fix the gameplay mechanics in Sparking Zero. So make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you like my ideas, and yeah, let's just get straight into it. Alright, so let's get started. The biggest problem with this game is super counters. As it is right now, it's way too easy to get out of a combo like this just by super counter. Especially when you're doing it from behind, which is supposed to be something that's like the reward system of the game, where if you get behind somebody and you attack them, you get to do a longer combo without them stopping it. The way I would balance this is looking at both combo breaker systems in this game, which is super counter and revenge counter. Revenge counter isn't useless, but it isn't a good combo breaker system because you can easily counter it. So like, I'm letting him hit me right now, but I could easily counter it. It's like really reactable. And then it immediately puts you into a vanish, which you could just like super dash and do something like that. Now you could even vanish it like that, or even step and sway it like that. Let me go right. So it's not really the best way to counter anybody because there's ways to easily get around it. You also can't revenge counter somebody that's behind you, which is what makes super counter the optimal combo breaking mechanic that people look towards to. So the first change I would make is to make revenge counters faster, so things like this isn't like easily reactable. Like, it's so easy to react to this. The second thing is to make revenge counters available when you're doing it from behind someone. I can't get behind Goku right now, but if I could get behind Goku while I'm comboing Goku from behind, you could do a revenge counter. Now, good thing about revenge counter is that you can combo into it. I think most characters can do it. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure all characters revenge counter, you can then combo into it. And the last thing I would change about revenge counters is the cost of this. Hold on. Now, as you can see, it cost me 2 skill points to counter a revenge counter. I forgot what it's called, but it's that animation that we see right here. And that means that I can only do it twice max if I'm using a character with like 5 skill points, right? Since I want to buff revenge counters to make it harder to counter, I don't think it should cost any skill points to do it. Now, I think it should be so fast that it doesn't feel like it's impossible to counter it, but it also doesn't feel like it's so easy the way it is when you're playing online. I think buffing revenge counters in this way, and also buffing counters to revenge counters, benefits us when we're looking at super counters as well. Because now, since we can both revenge counter front and back, we don't need to depend on super counter as much. Now, as you know, super counters you can do it whenever. Now, as you can see, it's pretty easy to like, well, eventually I got it. The point is I didn't stop, I kept on trying. I think that's the main problem with super counters. Super counters is supposed to be the difficult option of getting out of combos, but it's the easiest option because you can keep on going. Even though I suck at it. There are like 2 main ways that people recommended of changing this, and it's to give a cost to super counters, to also make the timing difficult. I don't like these 2 ways only because making it more difficult isn't going to change how people are trying to perform it, because you can just keep on doing it over and over and over again. And then when you're the one comboing somebody and then they super counter you, that is the thing that annoys us players, is the fact that we know that you're not actually doing it like skillfully. You're just spamming it until it works for you, right? Making the timing smaller isn't going to change that problem. And also making it cost something also sounds counterintuitive because it's supposed to be the difficult option, the skillful option. So making it cost something to do something that's skillful doesn't really sound rewarding. It sounds lame if you're asking me. The best way to change super counters is to make it so you can only super counter when somebody's doing a smash attack like that. So something like that. Now, as you can see, if I'm trying to just do the smash attack, it's a lot harder to time because it's only once that I'm doing it. And it's not like I can spam it. It's like a one-time chance. If Goku's attacking me and does heavy attacks like that, I need to time it in order to super counter it. So like in moments like those where they freeze, then I could super counter something like that instead of me constantly spamming it. Then it's not only me that feels like I did something that was skillful, it's also the opponent who can recognize that person isn't just spamming it. They are also pretty skilled at the super counter mechanic. Not only that, it also now makes players, it makes them want to use the rush chain combos. And this would be for front and back. I hit Goku from behind, and that last attack knocked him back, and that's when he would have, the opponent would have to super counter. And if they fail the super counter, oh, I didn't do that right. See, if they fail the super counter at that point, then I would get another follow-up combo. You are being punished for not being good enough, right? And then another thing that's good about that is you can delay it. So if you know the person's good at it, there's also a layer of delaying it. Or wait, so for example, this move can come out fast or slower. So you can add an extra layer of unpredictability by holding the triangle button while you're doing it. If that makes sense. Why I think this is the best method, because now that we're making super counters something that is more skillful and would be less often used, revenge counter, which we talked about the change before, would be more valuable and would be more used, and it would be probably used more often than not when somebody is attacking you from behind. Rather, if you were to just attack somebody like this, you would most likely go for a super counter at that point, especially if you're good enough at attacking it. Now, you could also block. That's another reason why you should make super counters. A person does a smash attack or an attack that knocks the player back. Now, the player can also have the choice of blocking and, hold on. Now, as you can see, now if they do block, now the mechanic of guessing up and down is useful again, because you're not just spamming super counter. Now, instead of relying on super counter, if you're not good enough, you would then block, and then it now adds a level of skill to the game where you have to guess where the person's going, if they're going to do a follow-up attack or super counter or revenge counter. Now, there are 3 options that you can do to defend yourself rather than just one, which is constantly spamming it up and down. There's so many different mechanics in this game that aren't being used because super counter is so powerful in every single scenario. If anybody does anything, super counter, it does not matter. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. A person can, when I do this, a person can easily just perception, which again is another thing, and it costs a skill point to do that. So again, now it opens up options. A more skillful player would look for a revenge counter because it's costs nothing. Again, that's what I'm saying. If you made it cost something, then there would be other options that would be easier to do, which would make revenge counter pointless. But with this, now it's the skillful options. It's the hardest thing to do, and it's rewarding because you're doing it once, and if you don't get it, then you get punished for it. Now, you might notice with the change that I'm suggesting, you won't be able to super counter something like this. And I personally think you shouldn't be able to super counter something like this, because a player should be rewarded for getting to spark them, unless they're using instant spark. That's a different conversation. I'll talk about how I see instant spark in a different video. But the fact that that mechanic where you can attack so many times in the game is easily just taken away because of super counters is why I think, like, come on, like, we all know when we do that, we don't want to get super counter, okay, right? And it sucks when we get attacked like that. But again, with the change of revenge counters, you would just be able to revenge counter out of it if you really don't want to get into it, and it costs you something, right? Plus, with the revenge counter, you can still counter that if you're good enough, if you react fast enough, because again, I want revenge counter to happen fast. Okay, Goku, you're done. Alright, now let's talk about vanishing. There are 3 ways I think vanishing could be changed. There's one way I think most likely will happen. The other 2 ways I prefer, but I don't think it's realistic for them to do it. I'll talk about the way that it realistically could be changed. So basically, you would speed up the animation for Z counter, so the timing is harder. And speed it up by how much? Now, you guys might not know this is in the game, but you can vanish this way. And it's just when a person does a high-speed movement on you, you do a high-speed movement back. Okay, Goku's beating my ass. Hold on. And then you just continuously do it, and you can see how fast the key runs out when you do that. First recommended change for Z counters is to make them just as fast as this. I think this would be the most realistic way to change Z counters, because they do want that back and forth to happen. It's just the way it happens is too easy and too predictable, and players want a more skill experience. Like, we want to feel like we're good at the game when we do it. And honestly, the thing I would prefer is if it got faster and faster and faster. So what I would ask for is for every second vanish, it gets faster, and then after the second vanish again, it gets faster, and after the second vanish again, it gets faster. Realistically, I don't think they would implement this, only because I don't think they would care to take the time to do something like that. I might be wrong, maybe they would. I think that would actually be the best way to do it, to make it faster and faster. And the third way is to make it, when you Z counter, you vanish, wait, hold on, you vanish like this. I didn't do it right. There you go. You do an empty vanish. So every time somebody Z counters you and you vanish the Z counter, you empty vanish this way. So this way, they get punished. So you see how I Z countered? So Goku's initial attack would then lead me into a Z counter if I vanished it. And if he vanished that attack, that would be an empty vanish instead of a Z counter. So there's no infinite loop. Yeah, so as you can see, if you get into a super counter, now that would fix the vanish wars. Regardless of how it happens, vanish wars won't be as annoying, and super counters won't be also making vanish wars happen 24/7. Now, if you know game, then you know perception is probably the strongest mechanic in the game. And I am sorry, listen, my videos don't even get blown up, okay? So on the off chance this video blows up for some reason, if people find out this is a thing, it's gonna ruin the game. Like, I'm being so serious. It's worse than revenge counters, if I'm being honest with you. It's the fact that you can spam and completely face your opponent. So regardless if he sidesteps me, I'm going to continuously face him. And then another problem you can see is my key isn't going down, because once you have 2 key, it continuously goes up. Or for specific characters, not androids. Androids and infinitely goes. You could technically attack when it's going down, but let's be honest, are any of us really going to time that? No. And this needs to be nerfed. Perception needs to be nerfed because of this. Now, the way I would nerf it is to give perception recovery frames. Number 1, way longer recovery frames, please. And give it an initial cost, like maybe not half a bar, but like a quarter of a bar for initiating perception. Because, like, come on, we should not be able to do this, right? Perception should be something that is of skill. Yeah, that's insane. Another big problem is when somebody is guarding and then goes into perception. Because, now, I didn't think it was that big of a deal first. It's definitely, yeah, it definitely takes away from the skill, because you really don't need to do nothing. You just hold circle and then, you know. But I do love that. I think blocking into Sonic Sway is sick. So my recommendation for this change is that when guarding specifically, right, if you press perception and you don't get a Sonic Sway while guarding and somebody's attacking you, you get punished and you get hit. Like, it should literally only happen when you time it right? If you're guarding and then you do that, you should be able to get punished for doing something like that. Unlike that, which actually looks sick, and it makes Sonic Sway something that happens way more often, and definitely takes more skill because it costs something. If you mess it up, then again, you get punished, you get hit. Like, come on, because everyone does that. If you block somebody, they're gonna perception you immediately. You should vanish them like this, but they could turn around just as fast and perception your attack. That should not be allowed. Please change that. Give perception recovery frames. Now, this does not address Ki Blast, right? Characters like Vegeta can Ki Blast Splint, oh my gosh, Ki Blast spam, like, right off the bat. Like, he doesn't even have to be in Sparking to do it. And it's like extremely hard to stop. And then you can Ki Blast spam into an attack. Because if the person's deflecting, then it's a mandatory hit. The change I would make to this is that if you are deflecting a Ki Blast and you are holding block if a beam or any super attack hits you, it should immediately be a block. Unblockable or not, I don't care. If it's unblockable and you just block when you're not deflecting Ki Blast, then fine. When you revenge counter Ki Blast, as you can see, since we want to buff how fast revenge counters happen, this should happen so fast you don't even understand. It should be so fast that it's like unnaturally fast. You get what I'm saying? Now, hopefully that all made sense to you. I'm really not the best at explaining things. Hey, if you understood what I was trying to say, please let me know in the comments. Maybe you can explain it better than I did. If you don't understand, if you have a few questions, feel free to ask me again down below. Also, let me know what ideas you have to balance the game and what changes you would like to see, because I'm not a know-it-all. I don't know fighting games and arena fighters as well as the people that play it the most. I do think these would be the best changes from what I know. Maybe you had an idea that I didn't have. Again, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. I have a goal for 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. It's not looking good right now. Maybe you could change that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. God bless you. I'm out.